So imagine this. You have this public figure, right? A Hall of Famer, huge media personality, you think you know them, then bam, a single legal document surfaces, and it could potentially change everything. That's exactly what we're diving into today. Our mission here is simple. Unpack this civil lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe. We want to give you, the listener, a really clear, concise look at the accusations, where things stand legally, and, the ripple effects. For Sharpe himself, for sports media, for how we all perceive things, we're working strictly from excerpts detailing the lawsuit. Our goal is just to lay out the information from the sources, totally neutral, no taking sides.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating how these things get amplified when it's someone so incredibly well known, like Shannon Sharpe. His whole public image, that trademark bravado, as the sources call it, suddenly it's under this intense, unexpected spotlight. It makes it really compelling.
It really does. So let's maybe start there. Let's paint the picture of Shannon Sharpe as most people know him. We're talking 3-time Super Bowl champion,
Right.
Hall of Famer, obviously, and now a massive voice in sports analysis. He's everywhere. Known for that fire, right? The unfiltered takes, that huge presence on TV. He's undeniably one of the biggest personalities in sports media today.
Right. And it's interesting. This case really underscores how a brand built on being, raw and unfiltered, like Sharpe is,
Yeah.
how that can suddenly become, well, almost a double-edged sword when facing serious allegations like these. Allegations that demand careful, very precise responses. It kind of creates this weird dynamic, maybe even a trust gap for the audience used to his usual straight shooting style.
Okay, let's get to the core of it then.
Yeah.
Because something major has definitely challenged that image. An OnlyFans model, Gabriella Zuniga, she's filed a civil suit against Sharpe.
Yeah.
In Nevada. And the claims they're incredibly serious. She's alleging rape, sexual assault. And she says the emotional trauma is so profound, she's seeking over $50 million in damages. Wow. Okay, so $50 million, these incredibly grave accusations. What exactly does Zuniga claim happened here?
Well, according to the lawsuit, Zuniga is very clear this wasn't, some sort of misunderstanding. The legal documents assert that Sharpe allegedly used his position, his fame, his influence specifically to manipulate and control her. She claims she felt pressured, essentially trapped, and then ultimately violated.
And the source material suggests it goes deeper than just one alleged incident.
Yes, exactly. The lawsuit talks about what Zuniga describes as a disturbing pattern. It suggests this wasn't just a one-off thing.
Now, legally speaking, alleging a pattern versus a single incident. How does that change things in a civil suit like this? Does it raise the stakes?
Oh, definitely. It's a critical element. Alleging a pattern suggests potentially premeditation or a sort of habitual behavior. That can significantly bolster a plaintiff's case, showing more than just, say, a single lapse in judgment or a disputed event. The lawsuit really zeroes in on an alleged incident in Las Vegas. Zuniga claims she was invited, made to feel safe, comfortable. But then things took a very dark turn. She explicitly states she said no,
Right.
that she was ignored, and that the experience left her traumatized. And then there's the alleged aftermath.
Right, the source mentioned that too. What does she claim happened after the alleged incident?
She claims she was threatened, warned to keep quiet, told, essentially, that speaking out would ruin her, not him. What's really striking, from a legal analysis perspective, is how the lawsuit frames these alleged power dynamics. The fame, the influence, and connects it all to the broader conversation about claims against very public, very powerful figures.
So, okay. We have extremely serious claims laid out in a public civil filing. Now, Shannon Sharpe himself, he hasn't really addressed this in detail publicly, has he?
Not in detail, no.
And it's crucial, I think, for listeners to understand the difference here. No criminal charges have been filed. Not yet, anyway. But this civil case, it's real, it's filed, it's on the public record, and it's moving forward. Maybe you can quickly explain for listeners, what's the key difference between a civil case like this and a criminal one?
Yeah, that's a really important distinction. In a civil case, the standard of proof is different. It's not beyond a reasonable doubt, like in criminal court. It's based on a preponderance of the evidence. Basically, what is more likely than not to be true.
Okay, so a lower bar, essentially.
Different bar, yes. It fundamentally changes the legal strategy, the kind of evidence needed, everything for both sides.
Right. And predictably, this has split public opinion right down the middle. You see some people immediately calling it a money grab, saying she's targeting a celebrity for cash or attention. But then you have others who absolutely believe her. They point out how incredibly difficult and, frankly, risky it is for women to come forward with these kinds of accusations, especially against someone with Sharpe's profile.
It really does force a difficult conversation, doesn't it, about how we, the public, process this kind of information while the legal wheels are still turning, which, as you know, turn much, much slower than the court of public opinion.
That's for sure.
It's just a stark reminder, isn't it, that even figures who seem almost untouchable, they're not immune to civil law, and their entire public story can shift dramatically based on allegations long before any actual verdict is reached.
And this one feels like it hits differently for the NFL, for sports media in general. Sharpe isn't just some retired player. He's arguably one of the most prominent media figures in sports right now.
Absolutely central.
His face is constantly on screen. His opinions drive conversations. And the sources suggest all of that could potentially unravel. You know, you could see brands getting nervous, maybe stepping back, networks hitting pause. And the fans, well, they're definitely already asking questions, debating it online. So what does this all mean for you, listening to this, watching it unfold? The public debate is fiery, no doubt. But the actual legal fight, that's really just getting started.
Exactly right. And looking ahead, there are basically two main roads this case could go down, legally speaking. Path 1. Zuniga's claims are substantiated in court. Evidence emerges. That could fundamentally alter the public perception of Shannon Sharpe forever. Path 2. The case doesn't hold up. It collapses under scrutiny. And that raises a whole different but equally complex set of questions, right? About motives, about the media frenzy, about finding the truth in these situations. The legal battle, as you said, has just begun. We're talking witnesses, depositions.
Can you quickly explain depositions?
Yeah.
Because they sound formal.
They are. Depositions are sworn testimony given under oath, but outside of the actual courtroom, usually in lawyers' offices. They're crucial for discovery, for locking down witness statements, understanding the strengths and weaknesses of the case before a potential trial. Really critical.
So lots of procedural steps still to come.
Many steps. Court dates, motions. It's a long process. And every single detail that comes out during this process could potentially bolster Zuniga's claims, or conversely could help exonerate Sharpe.
Exonerate meaning officially clear him of blame in the eyes of the court for this specific civil crime.
Precisely. Which brings up a really vital question for all of us, I think. In cases like this one, how do we, as observers, navigate these complex civil claims and the intense public reaction when the full legal truth is still, working its way through the system? It demands a certain kind of patience, maybe, a critical lens.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to recap, this deep dive, we focus squarely on this unprecedented civil lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe. We've aimed to present the serious claims, the context, the potential stakes, all based directly on the source material we reviewed, keeping it strictly neutral.
Exactly. And it underscores something important about legal processes involving public figures. They're often slow, often private, in terms of the detailed evidence gathering, at least initially. Yet these processes possess this incredible power to shape and sometimes completely rewrite the public narrative.
So maybe we leave you, the listener, with this thought to chew on. Think about how narratives around famous people get built up and how they can be challenged or even completely dismantled, not just by headlines or tweets, but by these methodical, often behind-the-scenes legal proceedings. And what does that mean for how we, as informed people trying to understand the world, process these accusations and wait for the outcomes? Something to consider.